So it was revealed over the weekend via Twitter that a Power Rangers video game known as Project Nomad that was supposed to happen and be this glorious game similar to what we have for Gotham Knights coming up got canceled, never came to be. So Jason Bischoff, who is a writer, decided to spill the beans on that and share some concept art. So I've decided to break that down, give my thoughts, and talk about a pattern that seems to be happening with a lot of mature Power Rangers content projects that have been coming up. So let's get to it. So as I said, this does come from Twitter via Jason Bischoff, and this is what he had to say about Project Nomad. In a series of tweets, he starts off by saying, let's talk about the 2016 AAA Power Rangers game that never was, Project Nomad. As a video game expat then at Saban, I had hoped to business develop an ambitious open-world co-op that captured the energy, teamwork, and history of the franchise through a fresh lens. Basically, Arkham Rangers or Gotham Knights 5 years before Gotham Knights' announcement. Sadly, with so much circulating through the studio at the time, there was no bandwidth or budget to support. What I did have, however, was an invaluable blessing to independently explore, and explore I did. Calling on old friends, we built the pitch we wanted to see. While these looks were never intended to be final, I think it's safe to say we were onto something compelling. He then goes on to give shout-outs to various concept art developers and all that contributed to the project that he was trying to come up with. And then he goes on to say, ultimately, time and big shifts in our business saw conversations around Project Nomad peter out. These things totally happen. The industry is built on what could have been. And for now, let's simply relish this amazing art and setup. Ultra under occupation, being freed by a myriad of rangers from across the cosmos. Lots more to share another time. Happy weekending all. May the power protect you. So it's basically kind of a quick backstory of what Project Nomad was supposed to be, which I think would have been a great idea as far as having a kind of Arkham-style Power Rangers setup. And he goes on to share 5 concept photos that we're going to go over real quick, and they all look pretty cool. And I think this could have been a really great game had it actually come to fruition. And given I stopped watching Power Rangers, I watched the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, the movies, I watched Zeo. So I watched Power Rangers Zeo, I watched Power Rangers Turbo, the movie, Space, and then that's pretty much when I stopped. I kind of got over it after that, or just wasn't into it anymore. I mean, it was very repetitious and the same storyline and stuff, but they just didn't keep them on as long. I felt like it didn't really build them up. I know there's Galaxy and Time Force, there's Wild, all of those, but yeah, I just didn't really keep up with them after that. So breaking down the concept art, the first one he posts is of basically the yellow Power Ranger and what looks like, and given that there's not really a whole lot of details about this, this is all going to be speculation and just kind of a reaction to these, but I imagine, given this first image that I'm going to go over, it kind of looks like it spans, various sagas and series of Power Rangers. So, for instance, in this first still I'm showing, it looks like we have the yellow Power Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, what looks like the Gold Ranger from Power Rangers Zeo. Looks like above we have Goldar, and then possibly the white Alien Ranger, or maybe something from Zeo or Turbo, or maybe even Space. It's kind of hard to tell. Then it also shows Ninjor from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I believe like the second season, when they got like their ninja powers. And then like various putty, patrol people kind of all fluttering around, which I think looks really cool. Now in this next deal, I show a villain reminding me of something I would find out of World of Warcraft. And he looks to be either making his presence known or causing some type of destruction. If this is a villain from a season of Power Rangers, let me know in the comments below, because like I said, I've only watched up to that. So I'm not familiar with all the other previous, all the seasons afterwards. So it could be a villain that we've already seen. But it looks like it's more Rangers that we're going to see. So the Red Ranger, the Black Ranger, Blue Ranger, and then they see the Yellow Ranger kind of cowered down a little bit. So, but the villain looks pretty cool, and I'd be really interested to know if this was a new villain that we haven't seen before. We'll hear your thoughts down below about that one. Moving on to the next one, it's actually giving us a good idea of what the Power Ranger suits would have looked like. And while it's nothing like entirely new, it's basically the same Mighty Morphin Power Ranger setup. We have all of the Rangers here, so the Green Ranger, Red Ranger, Pink, Blue, Black, and Yellow. But what's interesting is in this specific design, it's highlighting the diamond and the Power Morpher along the belt. So it's highlighting the diamond in a kind of what would usually be white. It's highlighting it kind of like what comes across as like black or lit up. And I imagine if there was more detail to be seen, it would probably highlight more of the, dinosaur that corresponds with the Ranger, and then the Morpher would do that probably as well. So overall, I like the design. It's very nostalgic. I'm all about nostalgic. It looks really cool. It doesn't have to be so over the top, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. And then moving on to the other one that they provided, they've given us ideas of what the Alien Rangers would look like. And the Alien Rangers, I believe, showed up in Power Rangers Mighty Morphin Power Rangers second season, and I think also in Power Rangers Zeo they showed up a little bit. But it's the red version and the male and female. So the red Alien Ranger and the white one. And then we also get to see versions of what Alpha 4 would look like. And they give us 3 different options here. And when I saw these initially, I was like, just stay with the OG, which is basically number 1. These are the closest we would ever. I mean, that reminds me more of Alpha. And what I noticed is also with this one, it says Alpha 4, but Alpha 5 is really, that's the one we got in the TV show. So I wonder if this is something that would have taken place with the previous set of Rangers. I don't know, it's really interesting, or is this like just a different Alpha altogether? But nonetheless, I like number 1 personally. Limited comments which one you would have picked. Number 2 isn't bad. He's getting taller and skinnier, and I just don't know what that's all about. Number 3, yeah, no, I did like number 3. But number 1 is my pick for the best alphas out there. All right, and the final and probably the best one so far, we get to see a Zord. And of course, it's the Red Ranger Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it looks so cool. It looks really awesome. I wish this was something that we could really have seen in a video game and be able to play as them. You know, it's interesting because, you know, we have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie that came out, the reboot, and I didn't think it was that bad. I just don't think it was what fans wanted, because we just basically want a rehash of what we've seen before, just on the big screen. But I think this kind of very much is similar to that in nature, which is weird because the suits don't really, not that it doesn't match, it just, the dinosaur itself seems more, has some maybe modern touches that remind me more of the movie versus the costume or the designs of the suit and costume we see from the game. That would have happened. Now, I will say that in this still we see this, I guess he's a Silver Ranger, and I think that one is from space. Also, given the little kind of hoverboard that he's on, I have a good feeling that this one is a silver or white. I don't think there was white ranger. I think it was a Silver Ranger. Silver Ranger from Power Ranger Space. So overall, when it comes to what you think about these as far as the concept art, what do you think about Project Nomad? What I think is interesting is this, again, never came to be, and it's in 2016. 2017 saw Power Rangers, or Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle, which was on the PS4 and Xbox One. And then we got the 2019 Power Rangers Battle of the Grid, which was for Xbox, PlayStation, Stadia, Switch, PC, pretty much everything. And I think it's still going and getting content. I've not played them. I have not played either one. They're just basic battle, you know, fighting games. I want something with story like this was supposed to be. I mean, the last Power Rangers game I played was Power Rangers on Game Gear, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on Game Gear, and I played it multiple times, and it is just a fighting game in itself, but you kind of go along with the story. And I know we're comparing Game Gear games to this, but what I'm trying to say is I think given the age of Power Rangers, which is just as old as I am, or older, and the popularity of the franchise, I think the fan base for Power Rangers is not so much. There are kids that like Power Rangers, but I don't think it's like it was back in its heyday. And I think what's happening is we're getting a lot of content that is trying to straddle both mature and young. And I get that it's owned by Hasbro now, which is all about making toy sales, which they are, because they're reissuing or remaking the toys that came out when I was a kid. And I would love to go and buy all those. You know, don't have the money. Would love, if you want to donate to that, please DM me. But it just doesn't seem like Hasbro's really getting it, that their main fan base now, I believe, is people my age that grew up with the series. They don't want to see cheesy Power Ranger movies and TV shows, and they don't want to play games like this. They want to play games and watch TV shows and watch movies at their level now, just with the characters that they grew up on. And I think a lot of y'all can probably agree with that in the comments below. And I think it's been an interesting pattern that we didn't get this video game. There was supposedly a TV show going to happen that was very a mature take on Power Rangers, which, you know, we all thought was going to be based off the Shattered Grid storyline, based from the comics and from just fan stuff. And we also thought maybe Jason David Frank would be involved. He's the one that played Tommy. And then there's also this supposedly movie and TV show combination kind of based off the MCU, which I covered back in October. We thought that was going to happen, and I haven't heard anything about that. Since we haven't heard anything, it's almost been a year. I'm guessing it's not going to happen. It was supposed to happen from Hasbro's E1, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, but nonetheless, we have this pattern kind of happening of all this mature Power Rangers content that's just been kind of like, it's just not going to happen. It's just, they're getting canceled. I don't know if they don't think that there's going to be any return on investment, which is probably what it is. But I also think that they're basing things off of like the Power Rangers movie, which if we get another movie, it's going to be another reboot. I don't think it's going to be a sequel, even though I think it was decent enough to warrant one, but don't think we're going to get it. But yeah, I mean, it's strange because we have the Power Rangers comic through Boom Studios, which has been going strong since 2016, which was around the same time this game was supposed to have, was being conceptualized, and it's still going, and it's gone through different storylines and arcs and crossovers, and I mean, it's still going. So I don't understand why the comic book platform has been so successful. Well, I say that. That's not true. I can understand why the comic platform has been so successful for Power Rangers, but I don't understand why it's been so hard for it to translate. That success has been hard to translate to other mediums like TV, movie, video game. I mean, it shouldn't be that hard. If you're selling a lot of toys and your main audience is going to be people that would go to Comic-Con, or just collectors mostly of an older age, then why is it so hard for y'all to make a show that would appeal to us? I don't get it. Heck, even make an anime series. That would be just good. I mean, it doesn't have to be live action. Make an anime. I don't think we've ever had a Power Rangers anime series. Make that. Put something on Netflix. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we have the Transformers, War for Cybertron trilogy that came out on Netflix. Hasbro, if you're watching this video, which you're probably not, but maybe you are, why don't you put something on Netflix, like a Power Rangers mature animated series? Do something like that. I'd love to see that. So what are your thoughts on Project Nomad? What are your thoughts on the concept art? And what are your thoughts on the lack of mature Power Rangers content and all these projects being canceled? Love to hear your thoughts down below. And that's it for this video, guys. Enjoyed, hit that like button. For this one, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time on the Mashup.